If you've ever had one of those incredible spiritual moments where you felt closer to God than ever before, I think you'll relate to how Simon Peter, James, and John felt when they traveled with Jesus up on a high mountain and witnessed what we call the transfiguration of Jesus. None of the gospel writers identify the mountain where this happened, but that's probably because the answer was so obvious. Jesus left Caesarea Philippi to climb this unnamed mountain, and after the transfiguration, he returned to Caesarea Philippi. Caesarea Philippi is at the base of Mount Hermon, which is the tallest mountain in Israel. It is also covered with snow much of the year, so maybe that was the backdrop for an event that had everything covered in blinding white. If you've ever been to Israel, you might have been shown the Mount of Transfiguration in the Galilee atop Mount Tabor. If you'll listen carefully to your guide on that visit, he or she will tell you that this is, now listen very carefully, this is where we remember the story of the Transfiguration. In any tour of Israel, Mount Tabor is an example of what we call a traditional location. It's not the actual place where an event happened. The truth is, when Christians first started visiting Israel about 1,700 years ago, it was way too much trouble to go to the northern reaches of Israel. Since Mount Tabor is a dramatic mountain between Nazareth and Capernaum, someone decided to take pilgrims there to remember the story. It was a much more convenient location for people traveling on foot or on the backs of donkeys. Before long, the convenient location became the actual location for many people. That happens a lot in the Holy Land. But the most logical location for the Transfiguration is obvious. Somewhere high on the slopes of beautiful Mount Hermon, Elijah and Moses suddenly appeared with Jesus as Simon Peter, James, and John looked on in amazement. The symbolism is powerful. Moses led God's people out of slavery to the Promised Land. Moses also spent time on another mountain as he received the Ten Commandments and the entire Torah from God. Elijah was arguably Israel's greatest prophet. He also traveled to the same mountain where Moses received the law. At that time in his life, Elijah was desperately hoping to find God on that mountain. He did find God on his quest, by the way, just as Moses had. So now Moses and Elijah have talked with God on a high mountain in their lifetimes, and suddenly these two leaders are with Jesus on another high mountain. It was an amazing moment, clearly one of the most important moments in the life of Jesus. And that is saying something, because his life was just one amazing moment after another. Now, if you'd been there watching all of this with Simon, James, and John, what would you have said? Simon started talking about erecting shelters for Jesus. One for Jesus, one for Moses, one for Elijah. That doesn't make sense to most Bible readers. But Simon, Peter, James, and John were all Jewish. They had all participated in the great Jewish festivals. They had grown up with them. The longest and most joyful of these festivals, the Feast of Tabernacles, comes every fall. In that festival, even today, Jewish people build temporary shelters or booths to remember how God resided with his people during the Exodus. God even had a booth. We call it the tabernacle. Each year, Jewish families enjoy meals in their shelters every night of this 8-day festival. Sometimes families with children even spend the night outside in their shelters. The entire festival is filled with joy, laughter, and great food. It's little wonder why it's the favorite holiday of the year for so many Jewish people. So now, this might make a little more sense. Simon Peter said to Jesus, "Rabbi, it's good for us to be here. Let's put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." Mark adds the note, he really didn't know what to say. They were all so frightened. I think Simon Peter was just trying to say, Jesus, can we stay in this incredible moment? Can we please stay right here? This is amazing. This is like heaven. But you know, it's not time for heaven just yet. Not in Simon Peter's life and not in your life. A cloud covered them the same way a cloud covered Moses when he was on the mountain receiving the law. The same way the tabernacle and the temple were filled with a cloud when God showed up. Now from the cloud on Mount Hermon came a voice saying, "This is my Son, whom I love. Listen to him." And just like that, the supernatural moment was over. They were walking with Jesus again, trying to figure out all they had seen, all they had heard. And maybe that's the best part of the entire story, at least where we live. In your walk with Christ, you will have some very special moments. You will have times when God's Spirit speaks very clearly to you. You will have moments of worship, perhaps at church, perhaps at a retreat, perhaps at a concert, where it seems you could just reach out and touch the Spirit of God. When those moments happen, of course we want to stay there longer. To use Simon Peter's words, we'd like to shelter in place with God, but we can't stay there forever. After those special moments that inspire us, Jesus needs us to re-engage with our mission. And like Simon, Peter, James, and John walking down the mountain after the transfiguration, we can walk with Jesus, listening to his words. We can model our lives after his life. You know, they heard him teach in person. We're reading his words in the Gospels. That's what we're doing now in the Gospel of Mark. So keep reading his words every day. Memorize those words. This is your way of walking with Jesus. This is your way of being transformed.